What's up, guys? It's Agent What If, and I'm back again with another video. This is part 2 of What If Deku had an OP fear quirk. You guys seem to like it a lot the first time, so I might as well make a second one. Sorry it took me a while. I'm still trying to get back into the habit of making videos, so I'll try to make sure that these parts come out quicker and at least multiple times in 1 week. But with that being said, let's get some things out of the way. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment on what you'd like to see next. If it's another part of this or anything really, or any kind of tips and tricks, just let me know. But yeah, without any further ado, let's get straight into the second part of What If Deku had an OP fear quirk. We start off with Izuku in class. Izuku's been in class for about a week now. It's been a while and nothing's really happened since the, I guess you could say, hero and villain test. Nothing much has happened. They've been doing a lot of regular schoolwork, and everyone's a bit concerned about this. No one's really upset, but everyone's getting a bit restless considering that they came to a hero school. You would think that, they would actually do hero things, but everyone's just kind of sitting around doing regular schoolwork. Aizawa's teaching and no one's really paying attention, and he keeps telling them to pay attention, but they're not paying attention. Izuku's bored, so bored that he doesn't know what to do. The only interesting thing that's happened recently is that they all got to move in on campus. That was interesting for a couple of days, but everything kind of went to normal. When Aizawa started sighing, and sighing some more, and sighing more times after that, everyone was beginning to wonder what was up with him, because he typically sighs and says troublesome, kind of like Shikamaru, but doesn't sigh that many times in a row. He then begins to sigh more heavily and quicker when everyone finally asks him, okay, what's wrong? He then says that you students are going to be going on a field trip, I guess you could call it. Everyone's a bit shocked. They don't know what's going on. And he tells them not to worry. They're going on a field trip and they're going to like it. It's going to be some hero stuff, as they like to say. Everyone begins to get excited and ask when this is going to happen, and Aizawa says in about 2 weeks. Then everyone gets a bit sad, seeing as it's a bit far away, and they ask why he was signed. He says that he will have to take an important role in this hero training, and that's why he was signed. Everyone began to sweat drop, thinking there was something actually wrong with him, but he was just being lazy. He then proceeds to jump into his sleeping bag and go to sleep standing up. Everyone's sweat drops even further and hits the floor, getting back up and sighing at how lazy their teacher was. The 2 weeks pass and everything's pretty much fine, when they're finally told that they will be going on this field trip very, very soon, today, to pack their things and get ready, since they will be spending some time over there. Everyone begins to get excited as they continue to chatter and talk about all of the exercises that they're going to be getting to do. They don't know what's going on, but they are excited. They get in the van, or I believe it was a bus, and they start making their way down there. They make their way there in a few hours, not very long, and everyone is shocked at the sheer magnitude of the building. It's ginormous. Everyone thought simultaneously. It was huge. Huge didn't even describe it properly. It was massive. It was as big as something like a coliseum or bigger, way bigger. And everyone was astounded. They continued to go inside as they met up with 13. Ochako was fangirling over 13 being one of her favorite female heroes, and everyone else was just continuing on as 13 began to explain all that they would be doing and what would be happening. She proceeded to tell them that there are different areas, sort of like environments, that being a hero does not mean that you'll always fight a villain in the city. Due to your quirk, you could be asked to go anywhere at any time in any climate to help someone, and therefore you need to be trained in those climates. But for now, we'll focus on your specialized places, because that's much better for you kids to handle at this exact moment. Everyone begins to go to their designated area and starts talking. But before they can get down the stairs, they are immediately noticed by something. Everyone looks over to see that something's swirling. Things don't swirl, and everyone begins to ask, what is that? Aizawa's eyes are focused and he looks no longer tired like he was a second ago. He tells everybody to stay back because he doesn't know what it is. And out walks a giant grotesque bird-human hybrid along with a man with hands on his face and another man who's in a suit with no face at all. Everyone begins to get a little worried seeing that this is a whole bunch of what looks to be villains. Everyone then starts to laugh as Aizawa doesn't understand why, and they say, wow, you even brought in villains too for our practice? UA really is the best school. Then that's when Aizawa tells them to get serious, that they are not to come down these stairs for any reason, and that they should stay up here where it's safe. This is not fake. Everyone begins to get serious and start to worry when Aizawa starts walking down the stairs, taking off his scarf. More and more villains start to pile out of the portal as the fodder starts to rise up into an entire army of fodder villains that have no name. Aizawa begins to completely wail on every single individual there, going from person to person to person, beating them all to a bloody pulp, I'm assuming, and just kind of overall handling his business. But in this midst of action, all of the students find themselves in the air. Wait, we're in the air? And they begin to fall into the areas that they were surveying. Deku, along with Froppy or Sue and Mineta, are falling into the water. But there are villains there. They begin to fall and no one can really do anything, and Sue tells them to hold on. They ask to what, and she wraps them up with her tongue. She then leads them onto the boat that is currently sinking. Mineta's freaking out, saying he doesn't know what's going on. All he wanted to do when he came to this school was look at cute girls. He didn't want to die. Sue was trying to get Mineta to calm down, and Izuku was focusing on the villains that were swirling around the boat like hungry sharks circling their prey. Dark Presence, or Yami, was telling him that he was in danger. Izuku said, no, I hadn't noticed. I thought we were in a safe environment. Yami then tells him to stop being sarcastic, that now was not the time for it. Izuku then says, can I freeze them with fear? Yami then says that there are too many at one time. It works better when it's on one person. It may not make any of them stop if it's on everybody, and there's no way to target it, so you would also scare your teammates. Izuku sighs, seeing that there's no way he can use his main ability, and Yami tells him that that's not all, that most of these villains are pretty fodder and aren't really powerful, that if he focused, he could probably get away. He then goes over to Sue and asks her what her abilities are. She basically just tells him that she has the abilities of a frog, but scaled up to a person. Izuku smiles, seeing that that's actually useful in this exact moment, and he asks Mineta what his powers are, and he says that he can throw purple balls to stick to things. Izuku has a dumbstruck look on his face, but he then sighs, saying, okay, we can make this work. We'll get out of here alive, I'm sure. And then Sue and Mineta say, you don't sound like you're very confident in it. Izuku says, focus on what I say and not what I sound like. Alright? They then all smile a bit and then focus back into the situation that's much more dangerous than they thought it would ever get to. The boat is sinking fast, and at this point there's only the tip of the boat left up. Sue then grabs everyone and jumps, trying to get out and clear the entirety of the water section, but they cannot. They all are grabbed by a villain who jumped out of the water with no name because they're fodder, and grabs them into the water. Izuku, being able to swim, is relatively fine, surfacing pretty quickly, but he notices that there's a person with a fin who looks suspiciously like a shark coming towards him. Izuku then proceeds to freeze him, but more and more people are piling on to him. He doesn't know what to do, and he asks Yami to help him. Yami then tells him that there's nothing he can do at this exact moment. He needs to get to solid ground. Azuku then proceeds to try to swim as fast as possible to get to solid ground. Luckily, he makes it, considering that no one is really after him since Sue is the main target since she can swim and maneuver in the water better. Azuku makes it to solid ground and asks Yami what he can do. Yami then tells him that if he wanted, he could make constructs. Azuku asked him, wouldn't this information have been relevant earlier? Yami then says that he was not ready, that his body could not handle it, that it would be dangerous. Azuku then says, it's fine, Yami. What do I need to do? Focus on what you're thinking about. Make a shape the darkness, and exude the darkness, and then you have your construct. Azuku sighs, saying fine, and he then does this process, grabs Mineta out of the water, and grabs Sue, who is currently beating up on some random fodder villain. They didn't all escape, getting back to the main students who, surprisingly enough, most of them are already back with the main group, which is weird. And Bakugo and Todoroki are currently on the front lines, fighting a bit behind Aizawa as Aizawa screams to them to stop fighting, and they scream back that there's too many for him to take on by himself. At this point, the main bad guy, which I can't remember his name, but I'm sure you guys remember his name, Shigaraki. Shigaraki's getting a bit upset, just slightly, considering that his entire plan is kind of backfiring, that this guy is taking down all of the villains here. So he tells the Nomu to kill all of those children immediately. The Nomu nods and begins to start running, slowly at first, a bit of a jog, and then an all-out sprint, completely blowing away all of the fodder villains there. That's when he appears right behind Aizawa, and Aizawa jumps over him and uses his racing powers to race a quirk. But he gets hit anyway, getting punched, it sends him skidding across the ground, badly injured. That's when the Nomu grabs hold of his body and begins to start breaking his bones, slowly. Aizawa is trying to be helped by the other people, such as Bakugo and Todoroki, but he tells them to leave since they can't handle this and to protect the other students since they had better mastery of their quirks. They regrettably listen as he begins to start screaming more and more due to his bones breaking. Shigaraki tells the Nomu to stop as he goes over to the Nomu and pets it on the shoulder, saying, "Good Nomu." He then proceeds to put his hand onto Aizawa's face, and he's about to melt or disintegrate Aizawa's face when All Might jumps through the roof and lands. Shigaraki is a bit surprised that it took All Might this long to get here, but isn't at all surprised that he did come. He tells the Nomu to forget about Aizawa and to fight All Might. They have their fight, and the end result is still the same. Shigaraki still gets away despite everything, and well, that's that. Aizawa is taken to the medical center immediately. 13 is injured but not dead, and everyone else is pretty much fine. Ida didn't have to go get them this time because there was no way for this to happen, because all of them were transferred to a different spot, and there was no one to tell them that because Aizawa couldn't, because the people were coming too quickly. That's why that didn't happen. Anyway, after their little scuffle, right, All Might then, tell us about how he could have finished it with, I believe it was 5 punches, but now he threw over 300 to finish the fight. But whatever the case may be, he did indeed finish the fight. And with that, he did. So, moving on. Everyone's currently taking some downtime, resting, and they got about a week and a half away from school to, well, I guess, cope with the fact that they almost died at school. And they didn't take it too well, the parents. They were outraged at the fact that UA had almost gotten their children killed, and many of them were considering not bringing their children back at all, because this would have been too dangerous. If this was what UA did, they didn't want their children going there, and rightfully so, considering the circumstances. We then find ourselves with Zuku being at home, sitting on his bed, just looking up at his ceiling. Inko then comes into his room and asks him if he's okay. Izuku has been getting asked this the entire week and a half that he's been at home. She then says, you don't have to go back to school if you don't want to. If you're not ready, you can tell me. Azuka then says that he's fine and that he wasn't really into any of the fighting anyway, so he didn't get hurt and he was not traumatized. Inko doesn't believe him, as mothers typically don't, and told him that if he changed his mind, she was here for him. But Ozuku was a bit preoccupied, trying to get into contact with Yami, but he couldn't. Yami wasn't answering him, or he wasn't there anymore. He didn't really know why, but he was a bit upset that he was now being ignored, as any normal person would. Azuku continued to try to talk to Yami for a while, but got no response. When his doorbell rang, he got up and went downstairs to answer it, and it was All Might. Inko immediately rushed to the door and asked him what he was doing there. Inko then was told by All Might that he was truly sorry and that he didn't know any of that was going to happen, and that he didn't want young Midoriya's potential to be wasted by not cultivating him to be a proper hero. Inko wasn't swayed by these words and gave him a verbal lashing a couple times. He then sat there saying that he didn't have much time to be here, but he wanted to make sure that Azuku's potential wasn't wasted as a hero. Inko was about to say no, he wasn't allowed to go back, when Azuku begged her could she please let him go back. She then asked him why, and Azuku said because he really wanted to be a hero. He wanted to be a hero to save people, to help people, because it was the right thing to do. Inko was a bit perturbed that Izuku, from her perspective, wasn't considering the dangers, but she saw that her son had a passion for it, and she didn't want to crush his dreams. So she said he could go back, but if anything like this ever happened again, she would have to take her son back, and never to be seen again by UA. All Might accepted this and told them that he had to be on his way since he was on a constrained time limit. After a while of convincing, everybody had been brought back to school. Well, not everybody, but a good amount, more than they were expecting. And once everyone had came back, they were talking a little bit about how everything had happened. Most people were worried, others weren't, and there was a lot of confusion. But everybody was more or less fine. The school, however, was receiving a lot of flack from the publicity about the villains intruding in that facility. They didn't really know how to handle it because they didn't really want to say that it was not their fault, because that would have made them look like they were trying to shift blame. So they just accepted the blame and apologized that such a situation happened, and they let everybody know that they had someone like All Might and Eraserhead on standby to help if anything was to go awry. This, of course, quelled the people for now, seeing as All Might was a number one hero and Eraserhead was a highly placed hero with a good ability also. That quelled their fears for this exact moment, but alas, they lost a significant portion of their students, and I'm afraid they were not getting them back. But with that, I think I'm going to end this episode. If you guys enjoy, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the video, and let me know if you want to see anything else, right? And any other types of videos and what else that you want me to do. And also, I really do need to know, so I hope you guys really do comment. Do you want to see other kind of anime content like Naruto and One Piece and stuff? I know you guys might not really either want that, so I don't really know. So do you guys want to receive content such as that? The only reason I haven't done it thus far is because I don't really know the stories well. I haven't watched all of One Piece, and I have watched all of Naruto, but I don't know how to structure it, because it's a very long series, so I don't know how to. I know you just pretty much take over the major events and leave everything else out, but there are some important things that I feel I could miss. So if you guys do want me to do Naruto, I'll put some time into learning the story more intimately, and I'll make a video on it if you guys want. But I've been talking your ear off, so let me just end the episode already. Peace.